Alright, let me unpack this WNBA controversy that's way more layered than most people realize. Picture this. A player commits a flagrant foul that gets her ejected, then immediately tweets about white privilege while the victim's still catching her breath. The media's response. Instead of holding her accountable, they start dissecting her aggressive style like it's some kind of excuse. Wait, what? This isn't just about basketball. It's about accountability, race, and the weird double standards we are starting to accept as normal. Let's dive in. So here's what happened. DiJonai Carrington absolutely launches herself at Sophie Cunningham during a fast break, makes contact above the neck, and gets a flagrant 2. Basic basketball safety, protecting players' heads, especially in transition. But instead of owning it, Carrington pulls up her phone mid-game to post a racially charged accusation. Now, I'm not saying players shouldn't speak about social issues, but weaponizing white privilege immediately after a dangerous play. That's not commentary, that's deflection. And the WNBA media's reaction. They didn't just shrug. They doubled down. ESPN's Andrea Carter tried justifying it by saying, "This is just how Carrington plays." Wait, hold up, since when is reckless contact a style? If a player consistently violates rules, shouldn't that be criticized, not normalized? Carter even admits Carrington was behind the play and the contact was too much, but then excuses it by saying, "She's always gonna make that effort." Translation: she's aggressive, so let's not actually call her reckless. That's not analysis, that's bias dressed as commentary. And it's not just ESPN. This whole incident feels like a microcosm of a larger pattern. When black players target white athletes, the narrative shifts to systemic racism before the victim even leaves the floor. Let's talk about Sophie Cunningham for a second. This isn't her first rodeo with the WNBA's weird double standard. She's been vocal about male athletes in women's sports, which, in the league's current climate, makes her a target. So when Carrington hits her, the media's rush to downplay it feels almost scripted. Contrast this with if a white player did the same to a black athlete. Imagine the headlines. The outrage. The career review segments. But here, it's aggressive style and context. What context? The context of accountability. Or the context of protecting certain narratives. And let's not forget Carrington's history. 2 years ago, she punched Caitlin Clark in the face, gave her a black eye, then mocked the backlash online. Now this. If this was a white player with that record, would the media be giving them a pass? Or would they be labeled a repeat offender? This isn't about race, it's about power dynamics. The WNBA has a vested interest in controlling narratives, and when players like Cunningham challenge those narratives, suddenly accountability becomes flexible. Here's the thing, player safety shouldn't have a racial asterisk. If Carrington's hit was dangerous, it doesn't matter who she is or who she hit, it should be called the same. But the moment race enters the equation, the discourse derails. Instead of focusing on the preventable danger, we are now discussing systemic issues. Which is important, but not as a shield for reckless behavior. This isn't about silencing conversations on race. It's about refusing to let them be manipulated to avoid accountability. What's next? If this pattern continues, we are heading toward a league where consequences depend on who's involved. Where stars can weaponize social justice to dodge criticism. And where players who dare to speak out against controversial policies, like allowing male athletes in women's sports, get targeted without repercussions. This isn't just a WNBA problem. It's a cultural problem. But when it's happening in sports, where rules should be clear, it's especially jarring. So what do you think? Should style ever excuse danger? Or is it time we start holding everyone to the same standard? Drop your thoughts below, let's keep this conversation real.